Throughout history, the men and women who lead us with new concepts, new ideas, help us all to move forward in thought toward brighter tomorrows. And now, Meetings with Remarkable People, with your host, Jesse Sterling.
Hi, my name is Jesse Sterling, and I host a long-form interview show called Meetings with Remarkable People. A lot of people ask me, how did this series start 10 years ago? Who was your first guest? What was the inspiration? Well, the inspiration was my grandfather, Hall of Fame broadcaster Jeff Sterling. I was a sales guy at a Canadian TV station called NTV, and he said, you are going to host a weekly interview show. It's going to be called Meetings with Remarkable People, Find a Guest. And my first guest happened to be a gentleman named Mr. David Icke, who bills himself as the world's most controversial speaker. David Icke is a remarkable person in every sense of the word. He's British. His first professional career was a goalkeeper in the football league there. He went on to be a sports presenter for the BBC. He was a member of parliament with the Green Party, an environmentalist before being an environmentalist was cool. He drafted an animal Bill of Rights and went on to form his own mantra, infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion. It's 2016 now. My interview with him took place in 2006. So this is a decade look back, a retrospective, if you will, of David Icke's insights into war, banking, politics. He correctly predicted the U.S. would not find weapons of mass destruction, that they would get into conflict in Afghanistan, and on and on and on the controversy and the conspiracies go. Join me on this journey of discovery as we touch upon the highlights of my interviews with David Icke. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is illusion. NTV's mission statement is to inform, enlighten, entertain, and the following show, I believe, does all three. It's not intended to be a news piece. In fact, Mr. David Icke, the subject of the piece, has been described as one of the world's most controversial thinkers. I do hope you enjoy the segment, and I hope you find it thought-provoking. Any feedback can be sent to ntv@ntv.ca, and I must say that the opinions expressed in this piece do not necessarily reflect those of NTV. Thanks very much for watching. Hi, Jesse Sterling here. We're speaking with Mr. David Icke, world-renowned author, lecturer, seeker of truth, filmmaker. Welcome to St. John's, Newfoundland, David.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
How have you been enjoying your time so far?
Very nice. They tell me the weather's been great through the summer. It's not so great now, but I'm delighted because I've been in the desert areas of America for about the last 3 weeks, and it's really nice to get back to some English weather, I can tell you. And I can't believe how close you are to England. I mean, it's incredible. With 4 hours on a flight.
Newfoundland is out there in the Atlantic, for sure.
Extraordinary. It's a wonderful place.
Well, thank you. We hope to have you back. You still have 3 or 4 more days here, and we're already saying hope to have you back.
Sure.
When you go to your website, davidicke.com, davidicke.com, some of your first questions you pose to your users are, why are we here? Who are we? What is it all about? So let's just dive right in. What is it all about? Why are we here?
Well, there are a few theories about it. One is it's all a cosmic accident, which you get letters after your name for coming up with that one. You know, very good jobs in universities. Another one is that we're here to learn through experience. And I take that to an extent, but I feel that we've got a little bit trapped here in many ways, and we've fallen for a massive dose of amnesia, and we've got caught in a false identity, which is identifying who we are with this physical body. I say physical, it's not even that if you get deeper into it, and I'm sure we will. The body, as science is now, or the cutting edge of science is now beginning to understand, is actually a biological computer. It has the ability to think to an extent, and it has the ability to feel and generate emotion. And there are projects around the world, and I think there's one at the University of Florida, where they're actually creating biological computers that do not only react to input, but actually come to their own conclusions. And there was this extraordinary experiment that they did, which is featured in one of my books, where they took rat brain cells, grew them in a dish so that they became a network, and they taught them to fly a jet simulator and through a computer. And at the start, of course, the plane was crashing all over the place. But in the end, they said, they taught the rat brain cells to fly in hurricane force winds in the simulator.
So this is artificial intelligence being created and manufactured by bleeding edge science.
Yeah, I mean, basically the cells of the body, and we have trillions of them, they're like computer hard drives, and together they make an incredible computer hard drive. And so we inherit through genetics many traits, in fact, enormous amounts of information through what we call the DNA and within the cell structure. And this is where we get inherited, quote, diseases, inherited traits, and what have you. But we don't have to repeat, whether it's in health or in behavior, what previous, if you like, generations in the line have passed on to us, because it's the same as if you go into My Documents in your computer, you have a choice on which files to open. You don't have to open them all. You don't have to open the one with the virus in it. And so we are choosing, without knowing most of the time, which part of these inherited traits we are going to manifest. And the more conscious you can become, the more you can reach that level of infinite consciousness, that which is eternal, that which continues after we've left this biological computer. The more that becomes the influence and the guide and the decision maker, the more we have control of our destiny, control of our lives, control of what we create. Because when we're in a state, and I have to say most people are until we start to wake up to the true infinite genius nature that we are, we get caught in the computer reality, whereby what we think are our own thoughts and our own decisions and our own reactions are actually coming from the computer level of reality rather than from consciousness. And so often, one example, psychologists, people like Carl Jung, a very famous one, of course, they talk about being able to break down human personalities into something like 12 archetypes. Now, we, at the level of conscious awareness, the infinite consciousness I use to describe it, the ocean rather than the body, the droplet, we are talking about all possibility. So how can you take all possibility and break it down into 12 archetype personalities and combinations of them?
With this potential for paradise on the planet, our own creative genius inside of us, the potential for infinite love, why aren't we experiencing that day to day in life? What is going on out there? You know, you've indicated in your books that everyone, or most people, have an intuitive sense inside them saying it should be better than this. It could be better than this. Why isn't it, David?
Because we are living a polarity. Because we are, if you like, two people. There is the conscious level of ourselves, and by that I mean this infinite consciousness level, which is beyond this realm, which observes this realm, and can work through it if we open up to it and express itself in this realm, and the world would change dramatically if we did. But there's also the computer level, which is constantly being programmed through information that it receives, which programs its view of reality. And the idea is, among this network of families that I expose that are manipulating the world towards a global fascist dictatorship, primarily to do that, because compared with the global population, there's very few of them. Their prime aim is to get us to identify who we are with the physical body, and crucially, to become prisoners of the five senses and disconnect from those higher levels of ourselves, those higher consciousness levels of ourselves, which would see through what is happening here instead of getting caught in it. Because what they want to do is, once you have disconnected from higher levels of consciousness, you are no longer getting inspiration, knowledge, intuitive knowing from those levels. You basically have switched them off, which leaves you with one direction from which to get information to give you a fix on who you are, the nature of life, what's going on in the world, and all of it. And where's that? This. It's not coming from here anymore. It's coming from here. And who controls that overwhelmingly? The corporations owned by these families. And so this computer level is being programmed all the time as we download information giving us a false version of reality, a false version of who we are. And it's only when we open up, and all we have to do is to put out that intent. Intent is the power. My intent, if people today watching this program go, my intent, and mean it, is I want to open up to the true magnitude of who I am. I want to open up to the true infinite consciousness, awareness that I am. They might not like some of the things that immediately come towards them, but that intent will always bring towards them what they need to achieve that intent. And sometimes
that's living in the heart chakra.
Well, it's living in the high consciousness, and it can manifest through the heart chakra. But the thing is that what happens with people is they put out that intent. Now, the life they're living at the moment is an expression. The life they don't like and they'd like to change is an expression of the energy blueprint that they're putting out from the level of thought that they're operating at, right? The programmed level of thought. That's putting out and decoding reality to manifest a certain daily experience. This shows itself as people in their circle of friends and things that happen to them, jobs they do. It's a reflection of what is, or what they think is them at that level of awareness. Once you put out the intent of all the things that I've just described, I want to be the full magnitude of who I am. That intent starts to bring towards you what you need to achieve that intent. And what's the first thing that happens? This blueprint, which is creating your daily experience, starts to break down because you've put out the intent. I want to be something else. I want to be a greater level of what I am. And how that manifests in your life is often, and it happened with me on a major, major level, in full public glare in England in the early 90s, is that your life appears to fall apart. You might lose your job. There might apparently be, oh my goodness, my life's falling apart. No, no. The blueprint, the energetic blueprint that you have been working on, the thought blueprint you've been working on, the perception blueprint, which has manifested this life that you clear through your new intent would like to change, is breaking down, and therefore the life you'd like to change is also breaking down. And what happens to a lot of people at this point is they go, ooh, I'd like to transform, but not that badly, thank you very much. And they go back into the old way. If you keep with it, what happens is your life is transformed. Not when there's an R in the month, you know, an elite year, every time. But, and what we need to do is stick with this transitional period when the old blueprint's breaking down, and therefore its old expression is breaking down. And because so often life presents its greatest gifts brilliantly disguised as our worst nightmares. And so often when you keep on that path, you look back and you say, I didn't like it, but it set me free. Gandhi had a great saying. He said, there is no path to peace. Peace is the path. And the only way to create peace is to be peaceful. I mean, when I said I wasn't having it to this sumo wrestler in a suit guy, it wasn't that, you know, I was being aggressive and towards him. I was just imposing my space and saying, I'm not having this.
And he was touching you. He's the one.
I'm not having this. And what happened was, there was the greatest exchange and communication is on an energy level. And it's all non-conscious. But in some ways it's conscious without us realizing it. And so what happened is when I defended my space, said, I'm not having this, there was an energy that went out from that. And that was what pushed him back. It wasn't my words saying, take your hands off me, I'll get off the floor, that I would choose to get off. There was an energy push, which he felt, and he instinctively went back. And it wasn't me trying to punch him or being aggressive in that way. I was just saying, I'm defending my space. You're imposing on my space. And he backed off. And this guy, you know, he could probably have me for breakfast and he'd probably be nothing left on the plate, you know what I mean? But, big as I am. But on an energy level, if we express our true power instead of being diffident and apologizing for being there, without being aggressive and certainly without being violent, my goodness, we don't want any more of that, you can actually look authority in the face and realize that it doesn't have the power that you thought it did, and it certainly doesn't have the power it thinks it has. And as you mentioned, one of the great ways of doing this, I mean, I'm a great believer in the Gandhian philosophy of non-violent, peaceful, non-cooperation. Because the few can only control the many when the many cooperate in their enslavement. And that's what we're doing. There used to be a lovely comedian, very funny man, I knew him actually towards the end of his life, called Larry Grayson. He was in this show, and it was an all-male show, and he was the woman dressed up, right? And he said the final part of the show was all the men rushed on the stage, dressed as sailors, and started singing Rule Britannia, right? Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves, and all that stuff, rubbish anyway. And then what happened is that as the song built up to its climax, Larry would come on dressed as Britannia with the helmet and the sword and the shield. And he'd get manhandled up because what the sailors had done is they'd formed a pyramid on the stage, standing on each other's shoulders, you know. And he said he was manhandled up the top of the pyramid for the big finale with Britannia, the top of the pyramid. One night, he said, things seemed to be going rather well. He said, then I noticed that one of the sailors in the bottom left-hand corner of the pyramid had got rather a cough. And what happened was that this sailor, apparently insignificant, just one of the crowd down in the left-hand corner of the pyramid, here's the star at the top of the pyramid, at the apex, and his cough got worse. And eventually he was coughing so much he couldn't hold in the pyramid. And what happened was the pyramid collapsed, and Larry Grayson, Britannia, top of the pyramid, ended up in the second row, right? Now, when I was listening to this, it just hit me as so profound. Because when you look at a pyramid, The top is at the top because the rest of it's holding it there. And we think that we have no power when that which is dictating to us is only there because we're holding it up there by cooperating with it. Now, the way that they continue to hold that together is by dividing and ruling those holding the top up and making those people frightened of the consequences of getting a cough. And instead of, and again, what I was talking about with the norms, if you take the circle of norms imposed, don't step out of the circle, otherwise ridicule or condemnation, you can reflect that in another way to don't step out of the pyramid, ridicule or condemnation, don't you get a cough. And what we need to do is have a tickle in our throats, symbolically. We need to start coughing, and we need to go, I'm not cooperating with this structure of power and control and imposition anymore. I'm not holding the people controlling and dictating my life and trying to impose their will upon me. I am not doing that anymore. Cough, cough, goodbye. And behind us we'll hear the sound of human bodies making contact with the floor. The biggest bang will be the one at the top when he comes down. And if we, this whole thing about norms and imposing norm will upon the collective and any individual that tries to break out is absolutely vital. Because while we go on policing each other, we will continue to be a herd. Once we stop policing each other and we start to celebrate uniqueness, celebrate diversity, instead of scorning it, then the herd will break up, and when the herd breaks up, the pyramid crashes. And so what do we need to do? We need to let each other be who we are. I have a simple philosophy. Do what you like, express your uniqueness as you like, so long as you do not impose it upon others. And if we have that one respect, we don't need any laws. And that simple thing would set people free to express what they really feel, to express what they really know and intuitively wish to do, without anyone's will, anyone's matrix being imposed on anyone else. And that's the kind of world I want to live in.
So that was Mr. David Icke from the year 2006. Here we are 10 years later. I've done 250 episodes since then, and he's still one of the most mind-blowing people I have ever met in my life. To find out more about David Icke, you can go to www.davidicke.com. And this has been another remarkable meeting with another remarkable person. Have a safe, happy, and healthy rest of your day.